was suffering in so many different ways that I wanted to like my life again. And I got to a place where I was like, okay, it looks like we're gonna need to deconstruct to reconstruct. And I'm really blessed that like even through that, like my family was very supportive of that. And we're like, yeah, come back home.
They weren't like, I told you.
Right, like none of that at all. And also something my dad always told me was that chase your dream for as long as it's in you, because regular life is always going to be there waiting for you.
Welcome to another episode of Women of Tomorrow. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Women of Tomorrow is a platform dedicated to women positioning themselves for success and longevity. If that sounds like your cup of tea, please take a moment to watch this, share, like, and subscribe.
What's that?
Is it Lee or Lily?
Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw your Instagram. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Is that your full name, or is that like a stage name? Nickname?
It's my nickname. Since I was like 15, I've been going by Lee. Everybody who's like my bestie calls me Lee. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So tell me, I know we were just talking about in another episode, just like labels and titles and things like that, and how as creatives, it's hard to put ourselves in one lane, give ourselves one title. But for you, like, obviously you're a songstress.
Ooh, songstress is good. That's
good. But what do you call yourself, or what are the many things that you are?
So I think the kind of like overview label would probably just be Christian artist.
Okay.
I'm a singer, songwriter. I'm just creative in a lot of different areas, but yeah.
Okay, Christian artist.
Yeah.
I love that. Where'd you grow up? Like, where were you born?
So I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay.
But I kind of grew up between New York and North Carolina.
How did that happen?
So when I was 9, I booked The Lion King on Broadway off an open call.
Oh, wow.
That actually, the open call was in Atlanta. So I was always kind of like on the highway up and down 95 growing up. But so I booked the open call, I booked The Lion King, and we moved to New York when I was 9.
Wow.
And lived there for a year and a half while I was doing the show, and then was always just up and back for auditions. And then also my mom's family's from New York. So I was kind of growing up between North Carolina and New York.
How was that? Like, you seem pretty stable when it because whenever I think of like child stars, I either think of, what do they call them? Stage moms. And sometimes it's what the child wants, and sometimes it's not. Or I think of like, the fame happening so fast that it kind of just like there's no childhood and things like that. But how was it for you, just being a child but already getting right to your like passion?
So I want to start by saying that I did not have stage parents at all.
Okay.
Like at all. Like my mom barely really believed that like I was talented for real until like I booked The Lion King, They were always really supportive, but never pushed me into anything that I didn't want to do. And so growing up, like I would perform with my siblings. We all started doing theater together at the local theater. And so it was just kind of a hobby that just happened to turn into a profession pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Like I was always really focused as a kid. And especially if it was something that I really cared about, like I was like locked in. So when The Lion King happened, it was just kind of like, I wouldn't say, because I was so young, I don't think it was something I was dreaming about at that time before I got it. But once I was there, I was locked in, and I was like, okay, like this is now what I'm going to be doing, because I saw the possibility of it being more than just something I like to do.
Yeah.
And my parents and my whole family was a great support system throughout that, and still made sure I stayed a kid and had those boundaries. Like my parents definitely didn't play about that.
Yeah.
So I'm really fortunate the way that they kind of navigated that with me.
Oh, so they were still like your parents. They still like were, there was that difference. It wasn't like a friendship or a manager type thing like that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, my parents never wanted to manage me. Like that was always very clear. They're like, we're your parents, you're our child, and we love you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. So like this is so crazy, because when you started, you said you were focused from the beginning. And so it was just like, you just went out on faith and auditioned, or like, So there was no like, so you were already singing, you were already with your family. And so this was just like, oh, let's just try this. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually my mom thought that, so like I said, we had to come down to Atlanta for the audition. And my mom was like, okay, yeah, we'll do a shopping trip. Like, fine, we'll make it a shopping trip and like, you'll do the audition while we shop, you know? So it wasn't really something that, I was nervous about in any way because I didn't have any expectation around it. It was just something we were doing for fun, and we'll see how it goes. And then it went. So
It went.
So yeah.
Wow. So tell me this, like, were you always, I was to say, have you stayed in this same lane from 9 years old till now, or what have been like is the road been windy? Like, what has that been like?
Definitely windy. That's a good word.
Yeah, windy.
Because I'm actually kind of just coming back into the lane.
Okay.
So I probably from 9 until about like 16, I was really focusing on like the acting commercial theater at large
Lion King
space.
Was Broadway?
That was Broadway.
Okay.
And so then when I was 16, I decided to really focus in on music. I started writing songs when I was 10 backstage at the Lion King, actually.
You're a singer-songwriter.
Yeah. That was always my favorite part of theater, was singing and, you know, dancing and, you know, just engaging with the audience in that way. And so when I was 16, I decided, okay, like I want to do Spanglish pop R&B. Right. So I come from a multicultural background, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and African American. And it was always really important to me to represent my cultures. And I felt like music was the vehicle that I would be able to do that and be most creative and authentic to myself. So I made that decision at 16, and then ended up going to school for like learning about like music business and things kind of holistically. And then
School?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What school?
NYU.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I started out in college. Ended up realizing that New York was not where I wanted to be as an adult.
Okay.
And because it's different, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what was it about New York?
So I think that there are just things about the South that I love, and so that's why I think Atlanta has always been a perfect happy medium for me, because it has everything I love about the South and also the pace and just like access of what I loved about living in, you know, New York or a city.
You still have access, opportunity.
Right.
And it's not as like concrete jungle.
Right, exactly. Like I can still go to like grass, right? And it's not like a trek, you know? But so I first moved to Atlanta in 2018, and I was focusing on music and trying to figure out how to kind of hustle my way out here as a singer-songwriter. And so I was literally just like session hopping, trying to figure out where I would fit, and ended up meeting a lot of really dope people during that season. And then 2021, I ended up moving back to North Carolina, actually, because I hit just a lot of different roadblocks that I had to figure out how to navigate and really kind of reset and recalibrate and be like, wait, is this for me? Like, do I want to do this? And I actually had a therapist ask me, who are you outside of what you do? And at the time, I didn't have an answer to her question because I had been, you know, a performer my whole life. And so I was like, you know what, let me go back home and kind of swallow my pride and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. And I moved back to North Carolina and just completely stopped doing music, like at all. Like I didn't even listen to music for like 2 years. Like,
were you like kind of bitter about something, or you just wanted to like reassess your own identity?
Yeah, I wouldn't say bitter. I think I was just lost.
Okay.
Like I was lost, struggling, like I said, with my mental health really bad at the time. And I really was kind of rattled when the therapist asked me that question and I didn't have an answer to that. And so I went back home. I like got my real estate license. Like I was doing all kinds of things to kind of to try to figure out who I was outside of what
that makes sense.
I did. Right.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting an opportunity to move back to Atlanta top of last year. And the night before I moved back, I laid down and I was asking God, you know, what do you have for me when I move back to Atlanta? And then like very quickly, I was kind of corrected in my spirit to ask the question, what do you need from me when we go back to Atlanta? And I heard God so loudly say music. And shocked me because that wasn't any longer what I was kind of pursuing or thinking about anymore for my life. And I didn't have a plan around it, like nothing. Like I said, I hadn't even been singing to myself in the house,
Wow.
for 2 years. And then I moved back and then just kind of bloop, plopped into like the Christian hip hop and R&B space, which is now where I've started to release music again. So it's definitely been windy.
Yeah.
But I'm really grateful for the kind of twists and turns that's been in the middle of it.
It sounds like you like learned from everything that's happened versus just people getting stuck in cycles and not knowing.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so wise of you though. Like it sounds to me like you gave yourself time to just assess yourself. And how was it when you were like, okay, I'm gonna swallow my pride, I'm gonna go back home? Like, did you battle with that? Like, sometimes people are afraid to, I guess, restructure. They feel like they failed, or it's just not something that it's encouraged to like take your time, figure it out. What was that like for you when you made that decision?
Definitely everything that you just mentioned, all of that, the feelings of failure. It was a pill I had to swallow and really kind of come to terms with the fact that like what I had been working so hard to make work is not working, right? And like I was suffering in so many different ways that I wanted to like my life again. And I got to a place where I was like, okay, it looks like we're gonna need to deconstruct to reconstruct, and I'm really blessed that like even through that, like my family was very supportive of that and were like, yeah, come back home.
They weren't like, I told you, or
right, like none of that at all.
That's beautiful.
And also something my dad always told me was that chase your dream for as long as it's in you, because regular life is always going to be there waiting for you. And I had gotten to a point where I couldn't chase the dream anymore. And I wanted to try out something else, and I wanted to figure out like if this was even my dream anymore. And so I'm really glad that I was able to take that space to rethink about like what my existence is and like what my existence is for. And then it's funny because through that journey, God has brought me back to music, but in a completely different capacity with a different purpose. But it was a lot of spiritual warfare at that time. Like I said, my mental health was so bad at that time, that I wanted to like my life again. And I was willing to do anything to do that.
That's some self-love right there. Did you, what do you think what really was at that time, the spiritual warfare? Do you think that it was maybe the people that you were working with that God was trying to get you away from? Like sometimes we never know until later.
Right.
Like that's what you were doing. What do you think that was for you? Like when you were I guess kind of breaking down in your mental.
I think that it was definitely some of that. And I think that also I had to, because I had been doing it so long with like the intention of just like, I just want to make it.
Okay.
That I had started to make idols of like things around me that like shouldn't be guiding or leading my life.
Yeah.
And I think also like I just really lost myself along the way. Just kind of with that hustle, you just move and don't really take that time to like reflect. And also like I was
being present.
I wasn't present. And it was because I was just like seeking something that I didn't even know what the end really was supposed to look like. And so I think that within all of that too, there ended up being a lot of just like discontentment, just generally thinking, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be yet. Or, when I turned 19, I was supposed to be here when I was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so just kind of like, what is going on?
Yeah,
right?
really.
And then the pandemic happened and I couldn't hustle anymore. I couldn't move around anymore. And I had to really sit there and like figure out like, okay, you got to reckon with what's going on here, girl. Like this, like you got to do something about this.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, it was a lot of different things that I think ultimately just to lead me back to him and his path for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Has it always been God? Have you always had that relationship with God? Has God always been in your corner, or is that something that came over time?
So I think my relationship with God is something that has come with time, and in realizing that he's in my corner even when I was running away from him. But I was exposed to church and I was exposed to religion when I was a kid, just kind of, going to church off and on with the family. I did accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I did the altar call when I was 14.
Okay.
And then went through high school and college and all of this different, just did not keep God at the center of my life during that time. And I think that it just got to a point where there was no option but to
go to God.
I had tried everything my way. I had tried, doing what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and it just was not sustainable, and it also wasn't fun.
Yeah,
anymore. It wasn't fun, right? What am I doing here?
So it's kind of like an emptiness.
Yeah, 100%. And but there was always that kind of thought of maybe I should go surrender my life to God again. Maybe I should go to church. Maybe I should, and so I would have these kind of spurts of going to church or, reading the Bible and praying, but it was never in a consistent space to where it is now, where I'm completely God, whatever you want for my life, that's what I want for my life. And
is it more peaceful?
Oh, yeah. And you can ask anybody who knows me, who knew
you're
me
you're a different person.
Yeah, it's I feel like I've had a complete restructuring of my mind, body, spirit, everything is completely new. And I also got baptized, and that made a huge, I literally felt a different, I felt like a new creation.
It starts in the mind though first, right? The mind and the heart.
And the heart, yeah.
The heart. And because anyone can get baptized, but it's what is the intention? Where is your heart at when you're doing it? And you were prepared to take that next.
I think also so I was never baptized as a baby, right?
Okay.
And I recently got baptized. I got baptized in December. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And what was so exciting, I was so excited about it because I knew what it meant, and I knew what God had done for me and what I had been delivered from, and just wanting to just completely surrender my life to him and make that blank clean slate.
Yeah.
I was just so excited to have the opportunity to do that because I had already felt, like you said, in my heart and in my mind, I had done that surrender. But the actual physical act of baptism, 10 out of 10 would recommend. It was the biggest euphoria, to experience. So
when someone's getting baptized, or for you, if you were giving some guidance to someone, did you go to a family church, or was there a specific pastor that you wanted to be baptized by, or?
Honestly, so God had put it on my heart probably August of last year to want to get baptized. And I was just anyone who'll do it. Honestly, I was I just want to get baptized, And so it was a process to find somewhere to actually end up getting baptized. Okay. But then ultimately it was really full circle because one of my friends who knew me when before, right? He actually leads a young adult ministry at his church.
Nice.
And so they do baptisms there. So it was really cool that he was able to kind of, be a part of the before and the after with me. So that was cool.
That's beautiful. So you felt comfortable in that environment. Your song out now, is it Your Will or Teach Me Your Will?
So there's Teach Me and then there's Your Will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teach Me. Okay, so Teach Me and Your Will. It sounds, obviously, now that I'm speaking to you, very intentional and just very straight to the point.
Yeah.
You're at a place right now where you really just want to hear from God first and foremost to activate or to lead you. And that's a beautiful place to be. For so many, and even myself, it's you really have to get to that place. If you're not already there, right? To get to that place, if you've been leading a different kind of life, to get to that place, you almost always have to hit some type of rock bottom. It seems like that, and either you choose to make the change, or it happens and you have to make the change. You were talking about, I think I saw an interview that you did, and you were talking about you had a health scare.
Yeah.
Was that before or after you kind of changed your your views or your spiritual walk?
That was in the middle of it, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I had gotten the word from God to get back into music January of 2023.
Okay.
And then when I was going through that health situation, it was like between March and May of like looking for answers for what was going on. And I had already, I'd been like consistently watching sermons, trying to figure out like what else from my life needed to, get out so that God could fully be in. And I ended up having a series of like MRIs and stuff where they were trying to see like if I had different things, and I ultimately ended up just being vitamin deficiencies. But it really was a wake up call for me that I need to get going on what he told me to do, right? Because while I was sitting there in that waiting period of waiting for the test results and everything,
You were going crazy.
well, no, I
Okay.
wasn't, because that really was a time that taught me to lean on the Lord, because this is something actually that I have no control over. Like I actually can do nothing about this, right? But sit here and wait. And God tells us not to worry. So I'm going to make a choice not to worry about this and instead focus on being obedient to what he had told me to do, which was music. Because one day, if I don't get through whatever is going on with me right now, I'm going to have to look at him and tell him why I didn't do what he told me to do, which was this music. And so I started really focusing on writing a lot at that time. And at that time, it really wasn't for an audience. Like it was because I hadn't written in over 2 years, like at all. And I was like, okay, let me just start by making this music from me to God and just like getting my heart out to him. And that ultimately ended up getting like good news that I just need to take some vitamins. And I was like, okay, great. Well, now
That's
I have
how
all
you know
these
it was like a
songs.
sign.
Exactly. It's like now it's like your time to make a choice. Like, are you going to worry about this or are you going to be obedient? And by the time I got all those, results back, I had these songs ready and I was like, okay, well, I got to put them out now. So yeah.
And because you were obedient, you were able to get to the other side with with enough to help you actually propel once you got those results because you were obedient.
Yeah.
So, okay, I hear people say this all the time, and you said, I chose to not worry. And I feel like it's so much easier said than done with so many things. But was there something was there like a tool or like a something that you did cognitively that helped you actually choose different? Or was it like, I'm going to replace this thought with this action? Like I'm not, instead of thinking this worryful thought, I'm just going to act on my writing.
Yeah. So I think that it's both of those, because also I had come from a very worry-filled life. Like I had in the past, I would always choose worry. And I learned that it was something, I learned that it was a choice because I in my therapy, with the same woman who asked me, who am I outside of what I do? We started doing a lot of like, just kind of like life balancing activities, like be consistent in routine, like do things like that to kind of like so that you create the stability around you as opposed to like looking for stability. It's like you get to show up a certain way.
Got it.
And so I think that because I had really been delivered from that. Like I was like severely anxious a lot, dealt with depression and like all kinds of things. And so my therapist really did help me to get tools to like get ahead of the thought. And then,
got it.
And then specifically with what was happening around that issue last year, I had already kind of trained my mind around getting ahead of the thought. Plus I had gotten stronger in my faith journey too. And so it was, I think, a combination of those things where I was like, okay, it's like mind plus heart and body, right? Because it's also like anxiety and worry is also in your body.
It is.
And so because what I was dealing with was also in my body, I was like, well, I'm not going to add to it. And I do have some type of autonomy in the way that I show up in my own body. Like I can take control of this, And so,
Did the therapy kind of help like have that switch go off? Like you actually have more control than than you might think you have.
Yeah, definitely. I had a therapist who was very holistic in her approach to healing and treatment, right? And so
when you say holistic, you mean like approach every
Yeah.
every factor that could be contributing to it.
Right. Yeah. And so I did take medication for a season. And during that season, I asked her, you know, like, am I going to have to be on this forever? And she told me that some people, like based on the research, like sometimes people don't have to and sometimes people have to stay on it forever. And I was like, well, if there's an option here, how do I get to the not having to, right?
Yeah.
And this is just something with me. Like everybody's mental health journey is completely unique and individual, but this was mine. And I was like, okay, so how do I get to like not have to take this medication forever?
Yeah.
And that's when we really started to create a treatment plan around, you know, eating well consistently, right? Because at this time I was like only eating like Doritos, and that would be like my meal for a day, you know?
The Dorito brain. Yeah.
Right. So then I started cooking, you know, I started like doing all these things to just like address the wholeness of like me as a being. And after about a year, I didn't have to take the medication anymore.
Wow.
And my therapist helped me to understand that I do, like I said, I have some autonomy here in how I show up, you know? And so, but I 100%, as much as help therapy gave me, it also helped me to get back in center with my faith journey, to be able to like it gave me the clarity to be able to want to tap in with God again and actually want to hear what he has to say, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that it was both of those factors combined that specifically helped me get to my place now of like being at peace.
Yeah.
And also it's great because now I have tools too. So it's like, if something comes up, it's like, okay, no, cancel that thought, get ahead of the thought, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's a daily effort, right?
Yeah.
To really stay on the path.
Yeah.
Just like everything else. So the songs that you wrote while you were going through, what do they say, the valley? Did you keep any of those songs? Are you using it? Have you put any of them out, or was it?
No.
It was just for that time.
Yeah, it was that time, and it definitely doesn't represent me or like where I'm at at all anymore. And I think that I really want to focus my music on talking about getting to the other side now.
Yeah,
And I used to write a lot about just being in a dark place, and I'm not there anymore.
Got it.
So yeah, but I never shy away from acknowledging
where you came.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your experiences.
Yeah. But I just want to sing about something a little happier now.
Yeah, manifesting what you actually want to create. How does it feel now to have put out songs, people care, they love it, they're interacting, and you're also representing God, your relationship, that love relationship you have? What does that do for you on a daily basis?
Definitely motivates me.
Okay.
Right. Because what I've learned about God is that like he'll never tell you to do something and like just kind of like leave you out there to like figure it out.
That's been your yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's funny because when I started putting this music out, I really had zero expectations. Like I was, you know, I hadn't even been on social media in like 2 years. So I had to like rebuild the algorithm.
So you had let go of the expectation that you had carried so long, because you were a child star.
Well, I would say
you're a child star, like, because that's not something that every 9-year-old is doing. And I feel like at times when children have that success so early, then they assume that it's just gonna keep going in that same path. And that was that a part of what you went through, of like, why am I not here? I did this at 9. By 19, I'm supposed to be doing this, and this. So at this time now, you're like, you're basically not in that place of needing anything to happen. You're going to do it because you're going to do it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because I used to like make timelines for my life and like what I was going to accomplish by 15, what I was going to accomplish by
15.
Yeah,
you were already in there.
Yeah, no, I'm telling, like laser focus as a kid. And now
I just saw a little you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no,
right
like
it
was no, literally I would like take the ruler out and like make it like clean lines and everything. And I just like don't live my life like that anymore.
Okay.
And it's been very freeing, you know? I think honestly like a lot of like what I used to struggle with, just as far as anxiety was concerned, was like me wanting to have control over things that I will just never have control over, you know?
Yeah.
And so with releasing music again, it was just out of obedience. Like I said, the songs weren't even written initially for an audience. It was just like, okay, like I have this on my heart. I'm just gonna write this song. And so it's been really cool to see that it's been received so well.
Yeah.
And just seeing also God's nature in it, that like God is, again, like God's never gonna tell you to do something and just like figure it out, you're on your own, you know?
Yeah.
So if anything, it's just been strengthening my faith even more, to just see it move and now have a life that's changing my life again, you know?
Yeah, and changing so many people's lives. And because I think like we just need that. We need that positive message. And I love the way like your music, it doesn't feel like you have to listen to it in church. You can, it's just really like motivational, it's uplifting, it's fun, you know? So that's such a blessing of how like over time, Christian music has just like evolved to like this space. And it's just like anyone, if they want to hear the message, they can hear it because it's brought to us in a way where we can digest it, even if we're not in that gospel-y, you know, phase.
Yeah.
How does your faith, like, I would say, influence your creativity? I know that typically Christian artists, there's like a code of conduct and it's just like, you know, you there's some type of, I guess, mentality that you want to stay within or represent when you're representing God. What is that for you? Is there anything any guidelines that you stick to when you're presenting yourself, how you dress, like your lyrics, the beats you choose, like, is that all kind of informed through your faith?
Yeah, I would definitely say yes. And specifically with the creative process, like some songs like for instance, Your Will was written, I literally had the Bible open and was like scanning through, you know, to see if there were Bible verses that would like pop out at me. And then I like to write on my couch, like at my own house, like I just be vibing. And so a lot of times the Bible is there with me. And so specifically with Your Will, I ended up on 1 Peter 4:10, which is now a literal lyric in the song, and also Matthew 10, and was like, I'll sit there and I'll like ask like, God, like, what do you want me to say through this song? Like, what do you know, need for me to say, you know, use me as a vessel. Cause like I really started doing music again, not for me or not for my own ambitions anymore. Right. I used to, and now I don't. But like specifically with a song like My Bad, which was my first song that I released in 3 years. And so that one came out in September of last year. And that one's literally about repentance, right? And just like coming to terms with the fact that like I wasn't always right. And like, my bad, can we start over, right? And so with my I can't speak for all Christian artists.
Yes.
But for me,
For you.
it does vary, right? But I want to make sure that whatever I'm singing about, that it like is from the heart. And also just generally, I'm a heart on my sleeve, wear my heart on my sleeve kind of girl, you know?
Yeah.
So I've always been very vulnerable with my music. And so now with it coming from a Christian perspective and to always be pointing people to God, that's just like all-time high on my priority list.
Yeah, I love that. So coming back out, you're listening to God, you're letting him order your steps, and you're putting music out, you're putting content out, and you're like driving your ship. What is it, how does that feel? How does that feel to be kind of like it's like direct to consumer? Like you have the ability to create and then just put it out there for the world to see.
Yeah.
Like, does it feel like empowering, and what is it like working with your team?
I love this question because the direct to consumer aspect of it has been like really huge and just giving me the confidence to do this again. Actually, Dre, my manager, when we started working together, he encouraged me. He was like, you should be writing all the songs by yourself. Go on YouTube, get you some YouTube beats. You need to realize that like you don't have to always be dependent on someone else doing their part or sending you this finished file or, you know, approving of whether the song is good or not, you know, to put it out. Like you need to realize that you can do all of these things.
Wow.
And actually what he specifically said that like changed my world was he said, you need to create new memories around your gift. right? Because when I told him, and I had met him when I was doing secular music when I had first moved to Atlanta in 2018, and so he knew me before and knows me now. And so he was like, right now, like your memories around your gift are clouded with negative thoughts. You need to create positive thoughts around your gift. And so
I love that.
Yeah. And so this music, it's been completely empowering to be able to have the ability to put it out, you know, independently and do as much content as I want, and really be able to see that kind of real world interaction and like real time interactions and see how people are receiving it and how it's been helping other people has just been like so fun.
That's so powerful because you know, the music industry has been a gatekeeping industry and has, you know, for your manager to have that mindset and to believe in you in that way, that's amazing. That is really a gift because there's so many managers who are just trying to get a hit writer to write the song because it's like, do you not believe in you know, in your talent and in their artists? So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm really blessed with my team. Like everybody's very very centered, God-fearing, God-led, and just like really dope and well seasoned as well in like the different ways that we all work together. So I've been really blessed that God has brought these specific people around this time because it's just fun. It's fun now. Like I'm just having so much fun.
So this is what you prayed for.
Yeah.
This is when you're like, I want to enjoy it again. And now you're here. Wow, that's powerful, like manifestation. Yeah, you didn't even realize it's happening. So now that you have shifted into this realm, this genre, are you still influenced by your multicultural heritage? Like what are the ways that you still like make that a part of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have some Spanish versions of the songs out right now. And then also coming out later this year, we're going to have some more Spanish versions as well as just bilingual records and maybe just some Spanish records, just as standalone records. So yeah, that's always been a part of the plan that's never gonna change, you know, and God speaks every language. So we're definitely not going to limit the music in that way just because it's a different genre.
Oh, goals. Because you were saying that, you know, you were so focused, laser focused as a child, and then now you're just like, I don't even flow like that anymore. Do you still have like some goals, or, you know, like are they're not like daily goals, maybe like yearly goals, or what? How do you and your team like plan for the future?
So I'm definitely still driven. And we have goals. We're very intentional, specifically as it has related to social media. We are very intentional and like have scheduling everything all planned out.
I love that.
And so yeah, like I'm still driven, but I think that just like my
OCD micromanaging.
Yeah, like I just am driven differently, like, and I'm open to pivoting more. Like I used to be like, this is the plan, it has to be like this, but now I'm kind of like, oh well, if it doesn't work out, like there's a reason for it. Because that's just something I've learned, like in my life, in my relationships, like in all these different areas. I've just realized that it's so much better. Like obviously you have to plan, right? Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly.
So we definitely have goals, but God has blown my mind at the beginning of this year, right? And when Teach Me started going viral, I was especially shocked because I didn't think that it existed anymore, like organic viral. I was like, oh, like, you know, we initially had a 4-year plan around, you know, certain steps or certain things that we're going to achieve within 4 years. And now the plan has been pushed forward a lot faster, just because of, you know, what's happened at the beginning of this year, specifically with Teach Me going up. And so the goals are evolving again, right? Because it's like, if I had been so stuck on like, no, we're going to do this, and in 4 years, then I would be blocking my own blessing with it happening, you know, with certain things happening sooner. So,
I feel like so many people are so bogged down with that exact thing of missing what's meant for them because they're so focused on an idea or a time frame. And it's just like, be informed by God, be informed by your spirit, so that you don't miss those things that are really meant for you.
Right.
It feels like for you, you're just like on this journey of accepting that and being able to pivot.
Yeah.
Pivoting is amazing.
Yeah.
I've always been a pivoter, but it was never like really encouraged. I was always said like, oh, you're doing too much, or you don't know what you want to do. But really, I was just like, for me, things had to feel right.
Yeah.
Things had to feel good. I was not willing to sacrifice daily like suffering in order to hit a goal. It just didn't feel, it was just like, this ain't it. Like the journey has to feel good as well, because as an entrepreneur, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who have like worldly success, a lot of awareness, and a lot of maybe financial success, and then they're miserable, lonely, unhealthy, and so that was a key thing for me. I'm like, okay, so that proves my point right there, that the journey is probably even more important than the destination.
Oh, yeah.
And the journey informs the destination, right?
That part. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. In my life, where I'm at right now, and there's still so much more to go, which I'm like really excited about.
Me too. I'm excited.
Just the fact that I'm excited about life is a testament to how important the journey is, and to keep going in the journey, because I definitely hit a roadblock a couple years ago where I didn't want to see what the other side was supposed to look like, or I didn't care what was left for me. Like, I was so over it. And so I'm learning that in my journey, that like the journey, like just get through that little rough patch, even if it, like, you know, cause I'm also a big believer in like, I don't believe that I was born to suffer. Like, I'm not into that, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes it is necessary for a season, you know? I think that it's kind of like, we don't know what sadness is if happiness didn't exist, and vice versa. Right. So when you're in a season where it's like, feels like a valley, like that you're there for a reason, and you're supposed to take a lesson from it, you know? And that's something that it's been like a lot of just kind of revelations around that truth, especially in the past year and a half, of how God has like made everything make sense. You know?
What do you do? Like, is there a mental hack for you specifically when like they say, no L's, just lessons, right? Like, is there something that allows you to be able to discern the lesson in a particular instance, or is it because you just are taking it easy and you're just flowing? But is there something that helps you to be able to discern that?
Prayer. Girl, yes. Because even with all the tools that I've like learned through therapy, and, you know, just different things I've taken from lessons, I still don't know everything. Like, I'm still I'm still like a little baby human out here, you know, experiencing this world for the first time. And I've learned that prayer really works, and prayer really does change things. And so I pray. For when a lot of people I've seen compare prayer to meditation, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's the same thing? Good question. I used to meditate, and I don't anymore. 'Cause I think, and again, for me, with prayer, I know who I'm talking to, right? And also I have evidence of who he is and has been in my life.
Got it.
And I think that,
so you think you're able to be super intentional through through prayer?
Yeah. And I feel like when I pray, if I'm lost, I might not get an immediate answer right after I finish praying. Sometimes I do, but I always get an answer after I pray. And, you know, I know that there's different ways of going about meditating and everything. I honestly just don't think I did it right when I tried it.
It's hard. It's so hard
you
to
know?
get it right.
But for me, prayer has been the thing that has really changed my life. And it's always just grounding to like wake up. Like, there's a difference. I notice a difference when like I wake up and I go do other things before I pray versus when I wake up and I get down on my knees and I pray and then go start my day. My day moves differently. I see things clearer, you know. I'm less quick to anger. I used to be like just a deeply angry person. And prayer has helped me with that.
Wow. I'm so excited for you. I feel the energy. I'm excited for the future. It makes me excited about my future.
Yeah, period.
I'm like,
Period.
let's go.
Yes.
What is something that you would like to improve in your relationships with others?
So I love this question because this is actually a big driving force of why Teach Me came to be. I think that I can still improve in my patience. And like I said, like I used to be really angry and quick to anger. And I think that every now and then it can come back out, even if it's not my intention to, which is why I always lean on prayer and the Holy Spirit to guide me with that, because just on my own, like I know I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so like specifically when I wrote Teach Me, it was coming from a place of like needing that understanding in my relationship that like we as two humans just were not capable of coming to on our own without help from the Holy Spirit. And so patience is still a growth area for me.
Striving. I've been doing a lot of kind of reflecting on myself, and like I'm always just like, first let me see what it is that how I contributed to situations that maybe didn't go right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that popped up as I'm like learning is that often the judgment or the impatience or the anger that we may express to others, we're actually we're actually doing it to ourselves first. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to like, do you feel like at times like I'm really just impatient? I'm impatient with myself, and then it just spills over to other people. It's like things got to be right. Is that kind of like spill over?
Yep. That's something that I find myself having to apologize for more often than I would like to admit to myself.
At least you apologizing.
Look, I'm really trying to be better, you know? And I really, I want to be a reflection of like what God has done
in your life,
in my life, to others, you know? And I don't always get it right, you know? And there's a lot of different outside stressors and, you know, things going on just like moving through the world every day that like you end up projecting unintentionally, you know? So I do try to be quick to apologize at least, and
when
really
you acknowledge
and acknowledge that like I'm aware that I did something that was hurtful, because, you know, your intention could be something, but your impact is also your impact. And so I try to grow in that area every day.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. That's good. Do you also give yourself grace? Because sometimes I'm also learning that that you know, on our walk with God, it's not always about being nice, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people need to hear in a strong voice for them to recognize, like even with you, like God scared you with a health scare, and that had it not been so scary in the moment or so like on edge, maybe you wouldn't have learned the lesson. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I can be fair, but do I always need to be nice? And so you being a businesswoman and having a team, can you give yourself grace and say sometimes stuff isn't right? Sometimes stuff needs to be done better, and it's okay for me to express it in the urgency that it needs to be changed.
That's a good question, and I think something that a lot of women kind of juggle that line between. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with acknowledging good in the workspace and well done, and also acknowledging like this could use improvement, and also acknowledging that like I can use improvement. Right. And so I think that I give myself grace, but I think that it's also still really important to assert that, because ultimately, especially if like you're kind of like heading the ship,
Yeah.
if you don't address something going on in different areas, like ultimately it's going to come back to you
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
So you probably
Yeah.
should just figure out like a kind way to say it. And I think that like niceness can sometimes like keep women from being real with ourselves and with others. And I think that you can be kind
Yes.
and assertive
Yes.
at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We talked about that on the show. Like, kindness is where your heart space is. This I care. And then nicest is to make sure everyone else feels okay.
Yeah.
And then you're not okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a way to honor others while honoring your intentions and like your presence in a space as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that there has to be like an either or here.
Right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, how about we all be kind to each other?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, how about
Exactly.
we all show up as our best selves?
Setting that tone.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
Good question.
Okay, I'm going to answer. What is something that you would like to improve in your relationships with others?
Self-reflection time.
Yeah. Self-reflection. My relationship with others. I believe I think learning how to be upfront and honest. I think that is just with little things. Like, I think that with the big things, I know how to do it. But with little things that might be going on, I'm learning and want to get better at addressing things right then and not letting them build up. Because I feel like I'm a builder-upper, you know? And then it ends up being heavier on me, and then the outcome is heavier on the person as well. So I would say that that's one thing that I'm working on and striving to be better at.
That's so real. And I can relate, because I think that there's a way where you can kind of like almost gaslight yourself in those situations where you're like, oh, it's not that deep. Like, I'm tripping. And sometimes you are tripping.
Sometimes you are.
But you're not always tripping.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not every time. And
Not
so I
every
think
time.
that that's the thing, right? It's like, my mom always used to say, like, you can say anything you need to say if you just find the right way to say it. And so I so feel you on that, where it's like, I don't have the words to address what I actually am feeling.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just like not gonna say anything. And then you like ball all of these feelings into one, and then it's just like this explosion.
And then you hate everyone.
Right. And everybody hates you.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
yeah. I think that if like we can kind of take those moments to like really sit back and like, so I used to, in working to assert myself, I used to just like say everything in the moment, like as soon as it bothered me. And that was ineffective and like made me just feel really bad about myself after it. But I think that like there's a way to like, even if it's small, take that time to like have that moment with yourself.
Have that moment.
What is this that I'm feeling? So that you can then articulate it in a way that's not damaging.
Yes.
And like that's actually productive.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
then you're actually clear-headed when you're doing it.
Right.
I've started a thing where like I don't text right back. Because I used to be like, oh, you text me, I'm gonna text you right back.
Right.
And now I'm like, let me make sure I know what I want to say before I text back. I was so used to just giving someone a response right then and there, and half the time it's just I'm forcing a response just because they said something to me.
Right.
And it's like, no, I'll respond when I actually have something to say. And that's helped me.
Yeah.
It feels good.
That's good.
It feels like less pressure.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're going to get this response when I have one.
Right, right.
So,
yeah, no, that's real. I think I also feel that, because I think that like read receipts.
Oh, the red receipts.
Like,
are yours on?
No.
Oh.
But like just like seeing like on Instagram, it's like people see as soon as you see something, and you know, and it's like, you know, I think that that's been a thing that's kind of like, you know, been pushing us culturally to like feel like, oh, I have to respond like right away. And that's
in the DMs for sure.
Right, in the DMs. And so I'm like, okay, I'm having to get okay now with like not feeling pressure to type back immediately just because I know that they see that I saw it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like no matter what, if I see that someone saw what I said and they didn't respond, my mind kind of starts racing. Like, okay, did I say something wrong, or are they not fucking with
And then
me?
you just
like,
want to delete the whole thing. You're like, let me just like act like this never happened. Unsend.
They need to change that.
Right.
That might be a little bit like triggering to be. Why did they do that, do you think? It wasn't always like that, was it?
I don't think, was it?
It's always been seen, like you can see.
That's too much. I don't know.
I thought they changed it at some point where now you can see when someone sees your stuff. It's kind of triggering, but we don't care because we're evolved,
right?
And we're grown,
right? Period. I get to it when I get to it.
Yeah. And that also kind of like lets you know, like if someone gets mad because you haven't responded yet, they're like, okay, chill out, and maybe this is not a person that you want to like continue to deal with if they can't handle a simple like pause. So
yeah.
This has been beautiful. I wish I had more time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations on everything. I'm so excited for you. So happy. Really inspired. I know people will be inspired by this. I want you to look at this camera and just tell our audience who you are, where they can find you, anything that you want to just share special with them about what you have going on.
Okay. I am Vasi. I am a singer-songwriter, and you can follow me everywhere at Vasi. That's LeeLeeVasi. I have music on Spotify, Apple Music. Let me know what you think. I hope you like it, and I hope that it's encouraging to you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.